The polar bear is the largest land predator of our time among all mammals. On its hind legs, this monster can rise more than 10 feet above the ground, 3 meters. And some males, according to unconfirmed reports, can reach a mass of about a ton. If the prey has fallen into the clutches of a polar bear, it has almost no chance. Huge pinnipeds, which are capable of destroying cars, panic at the sight of this predator. For him to attack a herd of sea elephants is like going to the supermarket for you. The polar bear is not afraid of the cold. It's the cold that's afraid of the polar bear. But it turns out that loyalty to your master can work real miracles. This dog is big and strong, but for a polar bear, he is like a bicycle to a truck. A larger predator can simply trample such an opponent. But what is it? The dog found the bear's only weak spot and clung there. It turns out that the nose of a predatory giant is a very sensitive place. It is not covered by either a thick layer of adipose tissue or fur. Therefore, when the dog clung to it with his fangs, it stopped even such a huge thing. That's when the bear underestimated his enemy and messed with the wrong guy. You can't blame him either. Who would have expected such cool combat data from a dog? This is an extra-class fighter. Self-confidence, concentration, and skill are the 3 pillars on which the successful tactics of any fighter rests. Look at these rodents. It turns out they're like hobbits. Well-fed and pleasant at first glance, but formidable fighters if necessary. Their endurance can only be envied. Look at this epic confrontation with the lynx. It seems that in front of you is an ancient warrior with the bearing of a real officer. Pay attention to this aristocrat's posture. It's so cold and contemptuous to look into the face of danger when you are attacked by a whole pack of dogs. That's endurance. But it turns out that this is not the desperate calm of a creature that is ready for its end. It's part of the real battle tactics. The dogs underestimated the enemy. It turned out that the baby spread his paws and puffed out his chest in such a way that he reacted with lightning speed to any attempts to throw himself off balance. As soon as the dogs turn from intimidation to active actions and pounce on the baby, the rodent does not give up, but goes on a counterattack. No one expected such fury from him. These dogs clearly underestimated the enemy, who turned out to be a real warrior. Just look at how desperately he fights back. And at the same time, the baby acts prudently and effectively. But as for his size, the dog is like a huge wolf from that movie about Thor, remember? How would you react to the approach of such a monster? This beautiful chase looks incredibly epic. The hare is faster than wolves, but they also have great speed. And they are trying to drive the victim. Wolves are able to act amazingly smoothly. The hare thinks that he has almost escaped from the trap, but falls almost into the mouth of a predator. Only incredible maneuverability allows the hare to slip almost out of the predator's fangs. If the wolves were saved, then what is a lynx? A lone predator capable of. It turns out that the hare underestimated the opponents and paid for it. He didn't know that the pads of lynx paws work like snowshoes. Thanks to this advantage, the cat managed to catch up with the victim. About 60 years ago, people were a little surprised by a photo in which the artist Salvador Dalí was walking a tame anteater. But now we know. It was not a quirk of a creative personality, but a subtle calculation. Because one anteater is worth 3 Dobermans in battle. Surprisingly, these clumsy at first glance animals are real bullies who are only happy to fight for any reason. If this is the first time you've heard about it, well, for many other animals, this is also a surprise and a very unpleasant one. It is obvious from the name of the animal that the anteater feeds on ants and termites, that is, insects that live in large colonies and build huge nests. This is what his elongated head with an incredibly long sticky tongue is adapted for. But many people overlook the fact that getting involved with ants is in itself a task for someone with very strong nerves. Have you ever fallen on an anthill and felt dozens of painful bites in the most sensitive places? Well, for an anteater, this is an ordinary Tuesday. But the main thing is that in order to dig underground colonies, these animals have incredibly strong and large clawed paws. Of course, the excavator is a construction equipment. But can you imagine what would happen if an ordinary moped crashed into him? Then you can imagine what will happen to some medium-sized predator if an anteater's paw crashes into it. Here, the dogs do not behave very decisively, as they see the anteater for the first time. But even a small individual is able to scare off a large dog with its iron character and strange stance. Do you think the kid was lucky? No, the dog was lucky to retreat in time. Here, everything turned out differently. A jaguar, one of the largest predators on the planet, capable of hunting caimans and anacondas, lay quietly in the thickets. But the anteater doesn't care. He's in the mood to punch someone in the face. The jaguar is coming. The cat clearly underestimated the threat and did not immediately realize that it was best to run and climb a tree somewhere. Therefore, the anteater gets a great chance to come up to a close distance and hit the jaguar several times so that the cat is simply shocked by these cuffs. Finally, the jaguar tries to counterattack. He pounces on the anteater and knocks him to the ground. But for this animal, such a blow is like a friendly hug. It seems that this strange animal enjoys such a warm-up. In the end, the jaguar simply has no chance but to run far away. The anteater has a very strong hide and jet fur that works like dynamic armor. But his main weapon is a special combat tactic. The anteater can strike single blows with its huge claws if it wants to attack. But he defends himself. He rises on his hind legs. Then the tail of some species can serve as a balancer. In this stable position, the anteater can stand for a very long time. And most importantly, it is able to spin around its axis, so it is almost impossible for at least one enemy to approach it from behind. And from this rack, he delivers a crushing blow with his claws. The anteater's claws are combined into one huge stable blade. The animal strikes in a wide arc, using a swing that enhances the already enormous power of claws accustomed to digging. In the Middle Ages, plate armor began to be made to protect against enemy swords. In a direct blow, more than one blade could not penetrate it. Then the knights began to use powerful war hammers, which on the one hand had a shock part, and on the other, a spike. This thorn opened the enemy's shell like a tin can. So the anteater's blows work about the same way, like a medieval spiked hammer. At the same time, the animal does not strike single blows, but beats fast boxing series. And even that's not all. An anteater can grab an enemy, hook it with its claws, hold it up, and bend it under itself. After that, he will begin to trample and tear it with his claws, while the victim is defenseless under its weight. Perhaps this funny scene is an example of what an error in the evaluation of the opponent means. Some birds are so cool that even the bars for them are not a hindrance. As they say, a truly free person remains so even locked up. That's how this predator is. He was having a quiet lunch when a passing bird decided that he could take away his threat and nothing would happen to her for it. Mistake. The predator blocks the victim's head with the lightning movement. The thief will definitely remember this lesson. Koalas give the impression of cute and lively plush toys with the same gentle character. Well, this individual is clearly not like that. She cruelly throws off a relative from a tree who somehow did not please her. The crying of an offended koala is heartbreaking. Well, let this be a lesson. Do not judge a koala by stereotypes, like a book by its cover. In general, it is impossible for stereotypes about animals to make you forget about vigilance. This chicken thought that the giant above her was a good-natured vegetarian, a stereotypical mistake. For some strange reason, this particular horse suddenly wanted to eat chicken, and she started literally vacuuming the ground in search of chickens. The chicken is in shock. He just doesn't know what to do. She is not able to protect the young from this giant, and she will not be able to collect and evacuate the chickens in time because they are too scattered. As a result, the horse has diversified its menu quite well. Which case, when the animals made a mistake in choosing an opponent, struck you the most? Share your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. We have a lot of unusual things that we would love to show you. The cobra is another snake that has not only venomous glands, but also quite a lot of physical strength. The king cobra is generally the longest venomous snake on the planet and can grow longer than some pythons. It's worth saying right away that contacting her is a stupid idea for any cat. The chances of coping with a leopard, lion, or tiger are not completely absent, but a cobra has a much greater chance of winning. It will not be possible to defeat it with one throw, and during close combat at a short distance, it will almost certainly manage to twist and bite the opponent, at least in the finger. This will be more than enough for a powerful neurotoxin. The anaconda is one of the longest snakes in the world and certainly the heaviest. Even the average individual of this species grows up to 20 feet, or 6 meters, with a weight of about twice as much as that of a reticulated python of the same size. The mass of the young bull, incredible swiftness, and honed reflexes, all this makes the anaconda an extremely dangerous opponent. But the way it has adapted to the living conditions in the Amazon River basin is especially inspiring respect. The fact is that this snake just loves water and swimming. In the river, it gets a lot more room to maneuver, can move with greater ease, and in different planes. The entire mass of the anaconda is the strongest muscles twisted like tight metal cables around the skeleton of the snake. It is not surprising that the anaconda is one of the few predatory creatures that hunt not only herbivorous animals, but also crocodiles. Moreover, the anaconda can even defeat the black caiman, probably the most dangerous lizard of both South and North America. Attacking it, the snake entangles the enemy with its rings and gradually squeezes. This not only suffocates, but also causes critical damage to internal organs and especially the circulatory system. As a result, the anaconda feels completely confident even in such a dangerous place as the Amazon, until the jaguar comes on stage. This cat is the only panther of the New World, the third largest in the world after the tiger and the lion. But although it is inferior to the lion in length and mass, the bite force of the jaguar is almost twice as much. Incredibly strong jaws, which could surely leave a trace of fangs even on metal, are needed in order to open the strongest armor of local animals. The anaconda has no armor, only a smooth and, by the way, scaly skin that feels pleasant to the touch. Jaguar fangs cope with such protection as a hot knife pierces butter. But the main thing is, of course, dexterity. Jaguars have incredible swiftness. Their rush to prey resembles those action scenes from a superhero movie when a character moves so fast that it turns into a blurry shadow. Except the jaguar doesn't need computer graphics to show us something like that. You barely notice him. Then a blurry spot flashes, and now he's already standing next to you. Speed is combined with colossal strength. A jaguar can lift the same black caiman, holding it in its jaws, and then jump onto a steep, swampy shore. and this is with a load that weighs about as much as the cat itself, if not heavier. Who will win, the jaguar or the anaconda? It already depends on what will notice the enemy first and under which circumstances. The anaconda can defeat such a cat, but only if it manages to entangle it with its rings. Then the jaguar simply physically will not be able to use its crushing jaws or strike it with its paws. Of course, the jaguar will avoid this at all costs. The speed of his reaction is lightning fast, and the snake will have to try very hard to catch the predator by surprise. If it succeeds, even a jaguar will turn into a hearty lunch for an anaconda. By the way, because of the slow metabolism, these reptiles need meat very rarely, once every several weeks. And the maximum period that they survive without food, without significant loss of strength, is measured in months. If the jaguar managed to react in time, or was the first to attack an unsuspecting snake, then its chances of winning are extremely high. In addition to agility and strength, he has another advantage: intelligence. The jaguar knows that the strength of the snake's blow depends on how it bends the body before throwing. So if you stretch the anaconda out, it will have little opportunity for real resistance. With the help of claws, the jaguar can easily grab such objects. And thanks to dexterity, the cat gets away from counterattacks. The fight against the anaconda requires full concentration and takes place with great tension. But although the jaguar is at least twice as small as the snake, with due diligence and patience, he will be able to defeat it. Moreover, the jaguar is not afraid of fighting with such an opponent, even in the water. He will try to move the battlefield to the river bank, but he will be able to fight back even in the Amazon itself, thanks to excellent swimming skills that any other cat would envy. So, the winning tactic of the jaguar is not to let the fight go to a close distance. The cat will strike single blows, tease the snake, exhaust, and try to inflict small but tangible damage. And then the jaguar stretches the snake and gets down to business in earnest, grabs the snake by the head with its jaws. Would you like to see such a duel live? Or do you prefer to watch such a spectacle through the screen, enjoying the safety of your own home? Maybe you have experience traveling to remote wild corners? Share your experience with us in the comments. Some jaguars are so brave and strong that they can even hunt anacondas right in the water. This is especially difficult for them. Cats rely on paw strikes. Even at a shallow depth, it is difficult to find a foothold for a truly crushing blow. But somehow the black jaguar defeats the anaconda in its territory, after which it calmly pulls out of the water a snake that weighs more than the jaguar itself. This is a real feat. As you already understand, despite the mighty muscles of pythons and boas, as well as the toxins of poisonous snakes, these reptiles do not have a cloudless life at all. They have worthy opponents. Therefore, some of them have found amazing weapons. It would seem that fangs and claws are normal for animals. But the shooting? But it turns out that some snakes have really learned long-range remote attacks. These are spitting cobras. In fact, several different types of snake can release venom at a distance. Perhaps this is a feature of one common ancestor from which several species originated, or perhaps several parallel developing species have come to such weapons independently of each other. In any case, poison shooting is an effective weapon against aggressor cats of any size. So how does this amazing mechanism work? The teeth of such snakes have a specific shape. The channels through which the poison is fed seem to be turned forward. To shoot the venom, the snake raises its head, aims, and releases liquid through these holes under such pressure that it flies at a distance of about 7 to 8 feet, more than 2 meters. At the same time, this technique is exclusively a weapon of defense. During hunting, snakes will never spit venom and do not try to catch prey from a distance. Instead, they hunt in the usual way. They sneak up on prey or ambush it to inject the venom into the body with a conventional bite. The first question that arises when you learn about this phenomenal way of self-defense is the mechanism of the poison. After all, this toxin, for all its destructive properties, is not an acid. It is not capable of burning through the skin of the beast, otherwise the cobra simply would not be able to keep it inside its teeth. So, this is a common poison that poisons the body only when it enters the body, at least when it comes into contact with the mucous membranes. How then is it possible to use poison effectively against such formidable predators as lions? The answer is simple: eyes. The venom of spitting snakes is very strong and concentrated. If it gets into the eyes, it causes severe pain, burning, and even damage to the internal structures of this organ. For example, the destruction of the lens and retina. And here you will learn a nuance that will make you treat snakes with great respect. They are not just shooters, but real snipers of the animal world. Lions are very fast, as are leopards or cheetahs, but the spitting cobra has mastered the technique of targeted poison shooting. Firstly, it accurately targets the eyes, and secondly, during the shot, the snake makes undulating movements with its head. So the poison is sprayed in a wide arc. Even if the cat reacts in time and dodges the first drops, the rest of the charge will probably catch up with her. If enough poison gets into the lion's eyes, it will lose its sight forever. Experienced predators know about this and avoid meeting with such an opponent. And the inexperienced, well, the world of wildlife is harsh. That's how, in a fight with cats, these types of snakes found almost an ultimate weapon. It's easier to hit a big target, so honey badgers, mongooses, and other relatively small and agile snake hunters pose a danger to spitting cobras. But lions and other big cats should definitely beware of approaching this opponent.